What's up, everyone? It is Julian here. I wanted to quickly make this video. This is an impromptu episode if you're listening to it on audio, and is or impromptu video if you're watching it on YouTube. And we're getting back to the regular schedule of things on Monday. Fantastic interview coming up. But anyway, I wanted to quickly get on here and talk about COVID. None of the political stuff that's going around with it, but just some of my experiences with it recently and how it can kind of give us some lessons or you can say reminders as it relates to high performance. And the first thing is that I'm going to go over four things. And the first thing is leveraging technology, really leveraging technology. And here's what I mean by this. So I have a wearable, and maybe 3 or 4 days before the worst day, which the worst day still wasn't that bad. You had a fever, wasn't high enough that you needed Tylenol or anything. You just let the fever ride out and do its thing and everything. So overall, probably maybe one day was tough and everything. So like 24 hours. But before that, maybe 4 days before that actual day, I noticed that my heart rate was higher than normal, and the previous day activity was not much different. I didn't even train that day. And I slept my normal time, but I noticed that my heart rate was a little up as I woke up in the morning, and I didn't think nothing of it. So I kept going, doing my thing that day. The next day, my heart rate gets up a little more. I'm like, this is weird. And the next day it gets up even more. And that's when the light bulb goes off, that I think I'm coming down with something, because then my respiratory rate was never out of whack like it is for some people, but it was a little higher than normal. And that's when I knew that something was coming. What that something was, I had no idea. I just knew that something was off in this system, because my resting heart rate and my HRV, my resting heart rate was going up for no reason, and my HRV was continually going down. And I knew there was an illness or something coming, because I've seen it with clients before. I've seen it with just friends, peers, and all sorts of people. Not even just talking about the coronavirus, but just in general, an illness. These biometric devices are basically check engine lights in terms of giving us a heads up that, hey, something's not right in your system. And so I knew this. And then as I started to prepare and think about what it was, that was probably day 3. And then so day 4, when it came, that's when I took a test and everything, because I was getting a little weak as well. Like, I was picking up a box, and it was a little heavy. I was like, man, this is a little heavy. This is kind of weird. And so I just took a test, and what gave it off was a sore throat as well. So I had a sore throat, and I was feeling just a little tired. That's all. And then my biometric device, my metrics were just way off, and that's never the case with me. And so that led me to take a test. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because prevention and preparation is key. And that's the second lesson here as it relates to high performance. So these first 2 points go together: leveraging technology and prevention and preparation. They go together because you have the technology. The technology is going to help you perform in your day-to-day life at a much higher level. But the technology is also your check engine light. The technology is also giving you an inside look every single day of your metrics, of your health. Far too often, the old model, people wait for annual checkup or quarterly checkup, and they have no clue during the rest of the days of what's going on within their human system. And there's a lot of opportunity that they're missing there. There's a lot of opportunity that things can happen in their system that can decrease their performance, that can decrease their health. There's a lot that can happen in 90 days. And so when you leverage technology, you have insights into the day-to-day life of your human system. Now, the second point, preparation and planning. Now, I've been on, I have my supplements and vitamins and everything. So I've been on a regimen for my immune system, and in general, just my everyday performance for, since I started the pandemic, I added a few things. But even before that, I was fairly optimized and diligent with my regimen. But even then, I had a just in case kit. What am I going to do if I do test positive? What am I going to do if I do show symptoms? What am I going to do if I, expand this out here? Now, don't even think about just the coronavirus, but think about different scenarios in your life. Are you prepared? A lot of, over the course of the year, I talked to a lot of athletes as well. A lot of athletes were just lost on the gym not being open. And this was everyday people as well. So many people gained weight during the pandemic because the gym was closed. It's like we forgot how to work out in our driveway. We forgot to work out in our garage. We just got thrown out of our daily routine. So as we think here, yes, I want you to plan and prepare for something like this. Of course, what are you going to do with your immune system? Do you have everything that you need so you can hit the ground running with that? Because I will tell you, that was one of the key things with my situation, is that as soon as I knew something was up and as soon as I got confirmation of what it was, I immediately attacked that thing. And I think that's why the window of just feeling not so good was so short compared to other people. Now, we live in an N of one world, so I don't know. I'll let other people argue that kind of stuff, but I can just speak from my experience and some of the other people that I talk to, that the earlier you attack it, the better you're most likely going to be. Now, I want you to anticipate. So think about other situations, like nutrition, for example. What are some things, I often talk about anticipation. What are some things that could throw you off your game with your nutrition? What are some things that could derail your weight loss progress? Think about those things. Plan and prepare. Be one of those people that look into the future. I'm going blank right now. Front load your work. Think about this as if you're getting financial advice. You have multiple accounts, and one of those accounts is an emergency fund, right? Or I have an account for dumb mistakes or just doing Julian stuff, right? But you're preparing in the future just in case. So, and that takes away a lot of the anxiety. That takes away a lot of the fear, the worry, the uncertainty. Because believe it or not, besides obesity, the second leading cause or issue with the severity around the coronavirus was fear and anxiety. And that's maybe hard to believe, but that was the second leading thing, or I should say still is the second leading thing, is fear and anxiety. I couldn't believe it when I saw the research on that. So right now we have technology, leveraging technology. We have preparing, planning, anticipating. And the third one is simply to remember that everyone is different. We live in an N of one world. How I respond, how you respond, how the next person responds, how our neighbor responds, how our friend responds, everyone's going to be different. And we have to keep that in mind, because we often speak in this world when it comes to health. We speak from a black and white perspective. Take for example, for me, I had a sore throat. For others, it's body chills and shakes and there's so many different symptoms. And with so many different symptoms, there's also going to be different ways that we can respond. Now, we have modalities that are more likely to elicit a more positive response. That's probability. Everything's probability. There's no absolutes in this world, but we do have things that have a higher probability. And so you do keep that in mind, but you also keep in the back of your head that that we are N of one. That is the whole premise. We are N of one. And so we are going to be different in our responses. So what works for me may not work for the next person, and what works for the next person may not work for you. So keep that in mind. Have the things that are going to give a higher probability, but also keep it in the back of the mind that there's a lot of other variables at play when it comes to your health, when it comes to your performance, that the typical mainstream narrative is not going to talk about. We have our genetics. and certain genes are going to respond differently. We have blood types. We have our current state of health, our body composition at the moment, so many different things. So please keep that in mind as you go about setting up a health plan, setting up a fitness plan, and just truly tackling aging, and that it's going to be different for everyone. And the fourth thing, here, this was a tough one for me because of the way I'm operating. And that was to stay patient. And you mean, what do you mean by staying patient? Well, pretty much after 24, maybe I'll give it 36 hours, I felt pretty good. Now, of course, it wasn't out of my system. I think you'll still test positive a few weeks after. I don't know. Somebody can let me know about that. I'm sure there's people that know that more than me. But I felt pretty good after 36 hours. So good that there was a part of me in my head that was like, we can get back on our training plan. Let's, instead of maybe 8 miles today, let's go do just maybe 4 or 3 or something, or let's go do some boxing or something like that out in the garage or something. And that's the hard thing, to stay patient. And I say stay patient, maybe another word is be mindful of your recovery. So sometimes what you see on the exterior is not what's being reflected on the interior. So exterior, I look pretty good. I lost a few pounds, of course, but that's no big deal. You can get that back easily. I lost a few pounds. But interiorly, inside, my body just got done fighting a virus. And yes, I had plenty of vitamins and other goodies and to help my body fight this virus, but it still was recovering. And even my data, my biometric data reflected that. So my heart rate was not back to its typical functioning, its typical area, nor was my respiratory rate. It was close, but it wasn't there yet. And my HRV definitely wasn't. And so sometimes you have to learn to trust your instinct and rest. And it goes back to a premise that I've mentioned a lot of times on these episodes, is to slow down, to speed up. Take time now to slow down. Get yourself composed, get yourself ready. And then you can hit the ground running at a much more accelerated and precise speed. And you're going to be much more effective and efficient as well. So rest and recovery. So I took the week off. Yeah, I took the week off. And taking a week off for me, not exercising, that was tough for me to do. But it's just what we needed, because our bodies came back stronger. I'm back running. I'm back doing 2-a-days, which is what I typically do. I feel great. And there's no relapses or anything. And what I mean by relapses is not from getting the same thing, but from having something else come up, because your body is still vulnerable when it's in that state. Your immune system is building itself back up. So these things here, I hope some of these things that you can gather, and don't just relate it to health, but relate it to life, relate it to being a high performer in multiple areas of life, related to those things. So leverage technology, because technology can be a check engine light. It can give us a under the hood look of what's really going on within our bodies and how we're responding to the day-to-day vigors of life. Number 2 is to prepare, to plan, and to anticipate potential chokeholds and obstacles that could arise. And if they do arise, how are you going to respond? And are you ready to respond when those things come? Number 3 is to remember that everyone is different and we live in an N of 1 world. And number 4 is to simply stay patient, prioritize rest and recovery, and you can come back and bounce back stronger. So hope this impromptu episode video was useful. And I look forward to consistently getting more stuff out in the near future. Have an awesome weekend. Stay awesome. Be limitless. And just go live a good life. Peace.